Hello, my name is Hudson McReynolds, and this is my presentation for my international finance project. And it's called Starbucks in Australia. So, first, I'm kind of going to dive into what the plan was when Starbucks wanted to expand into Australia. So, Starbucks was, as we know, is a powerhouse in the United States when it comes to coffee. We have one on campus, multiple on campus here, and everyone I've talked to that drinks coffee, usually their choice is Starbucks. And Starbucks actually also had some previous success when they were expanding into other regions like Europe and Japan. And the cool thing about that was in Japan, especially, one of the leading beverages of consumption were tea, and so it was kind of skeptical for Starbucks going into there and tapping into that market, but they actually did very well there. And then Australia seemed like a prime time expansion project because the coffee culture there was already pretty established, and it was already a leading beverage of consumption for the people there. So to kind of piggyback off of that, I'll kind of go into deeper a little bit about Australia's coffee culture. So on this slide, we have two kind of graphics that show you, the one on the right, kind of the leading types of coffee in those areas of Australia, and then kind of some of the stat. They're number 42 in the world in coffee consumption per person. 46% of coffee drinkers make up 46% of the Australian population, and then the individual average is 1.91 kg of coffee consumed. The coffee culture in Australia is kind of defined by quality, experimentation, and then they tended to have a preference for less sugary drinks. Experimentation as in like trying new things or trying to evolve previous types of coffee. The coffee shop scene was very competitive in Australia, more so with like the local shops. Kind of is what I said here, with many independently owned shops. And then kind of the common theme on the polls online were that many Australians value the social aspect of their coffee more than like what they are buying. So they enjoy being able to go and sit down and have fellowship or talk with other people or workers more than actually what they're consuming. So what was the Starbucks expansion kind of like initially? So the struggle was apparent almost immediately after the expansion. Kind of the main points of interest when it came to struggles were the menu, the socialization, and competition. And it was pretty apparent that the adaptability of the brand was tested when it expanded into Australia. And I'll kind of go deeper into that now. So first, I'll kind of go into the menu items. I just looked up. So on the left side, we have a Starbucks holiday menu, and the right side was actually another coffee shop that started in the United States and expanded into Australia, and they actually did very well as compared to Starbucks' initial expansion. But these were just the kind of the first two pictures that popped up on Google when I looked up the menus. And so I think you can kind of see, referencing back to what I said earlier, how the Australian people kind of have a different taste when it comes to coffee. They prefer less sugary drinks. So just looking at these two menu items, you can kind of see how Starbucks might not have been preferred when just looking at the menu, because you have a lot of these sugary drinks on the left side compared to your normal, a lot of black coffees on the right, which is why the menu on the right would look more appealing. Second, I'll kind of go into socialization. So kind of one of the staples of Starbucks, I know just from personal experience and how it's so big in the United States, is a lot of people go through the drive-through and it's quick coffee. So they go order, and then they drive their car through, and they get their coffee there. But in Australia, a lot of the preferences was kind of like sitting down and getting to know like local shop owners. So they value that more than kind of what Starbucks is stapled as being a quick coffee drive-through place. And so the social aspect definitely was needed to be changed if Starbucks wanted to succeed in Australia. What were the kind of results? So it ended with Starbucks actually having to close around 2/3 of their stores in the country. And then Starbucks' first year of profit in Australia since its original expansion in 2000 was just recently in the year of 2023. And then Starbucks became aware of the need to change their business model to fit the desires of the area they were now in. So kind of just what I may have done differently, or what I think may have helped Starbucks initially when they expanded, just because initially they didn't have success, which I would say getting to know the culture before making a plan. So I'm sure they had people that knew that Australia had a different palate when it came to how they liked their coffee, but kind of just taking that information and then beginning to start a plan, like, hey, do we need to change menu items? Or, hey, do we need to add menu items to our Australian menu that we don't have in our American menu? Do we need to take drinks out of that we have in our American menu that we don't necessarily need in our Australian menu? So kind of some things like that. And then don't overexpand. I know that Starbucks, when they initially expanded into Australia, they spread it around the country and opened, I don't know the exact number, but they opened a lot of stores. And so kind of how I would, based on what I've seen, is starting small and building a community first, and then through word of mouth being able to expand your business across the country. I think that would help them a lot more than overexpanding into areas that they don't need to be in. And then kind of the last thing is just keeping an open mind when it comes to the potential changes. So kind of just stressing the flexibility as to this. Australia doesn't work like America. The people are different. The culture is different. And so you have to be able to kind of have that flexible mind and be able to pivot sometimes to where maybe we don't need to be pushing this drink as much, or maybe we need to revise our menu and push these drinks more. So kind of just all of that. But these are my sources, and thank you so much.